A visible pattern or picture in the night sky is created by a group of stars known as a constellation. Officially, 88 constellations exist. Constellations are useful for navigation and learning about space. Long ago, constellations were named after objects, animals, and people. Even now, astronomers continue to identify stars and meteor showers using constellations. For a very long time, stars and constellations remained approximately in the same place. Because we are on a moving planet, they only seem to move in the sky at night. The constellations are frequently used as sky landmarks since they are in an unchanging location. The word constellation has its origin in Latin. It comes from the Latin word constellatio, which is derived from two Latin words. Con, meaning together, stellatio, derived from stella, meaning star. So constellatio means a grouping or collection of stars. One of the earliest records of constellations comes from ancient Babylon, where astronomers created a list of constellations and their names around 1200 BCE. The Babylonians used constellations for astrological and agricultural purposes. Ancient Egyptians also had their own set of constellations, which were linked to their religious beliefs and mythology. The most famous Egyptian constellation is the constellation Orion, associated with the god Osiris. The Greek civilization made significant contributions to the development of Western constellations. The Greek astronomer Hipparchus is often credited with compiling one of his earliest known star catalogs, which included many constellations recognized today. The works of Greek astronomers like Ptolemy in the 2nd century further refined the constellations and their positions. Ptolemy's Almagest became a significant reference for Western astronomers for centuries. Many constellation names and stories from Greek and Roman mythology, such as Orion, Cassiopeia, and Hercules, have endured and are still used today. Ancient Chinese astronomy has its own set of constellations, which are deeply rooted in Chinese culture and mythology. These constellations are often associated with the lunar calendar and were used for agricultural and calendrical purposes. Indigenous cultures around the world have their own constellations and stories, often tied to their traditions, oral histories, and connections to the natural world. Modern astronomy recognizes 88 official constellations, which were established by the International Astronomical Union in 1922. These constellations encompass the entire celestial sphere and serve as a standardized way to divide the sky for observational and navigational purposes. How constellations are named. Most of the constellation names we know came from the ancient Middle Eastern, Greek, and Roman cultures. They identified clusters of stars as gods, goddesses, animals, and objects in their stories. It is important to understand that these were not the only cultures populating the night sky with characters important to their lives.
Types of constellations. There are multiple and different types of constellations. One of them are seasonal constellations. When we say seasonal constellations, the constellations that are visible in the night sky in the evening change from season to season because stars appear to move by 90 degrees across the sky every 3 months. Example are the modern and ancient constellations. Ancient constellations. These constellations were found, named, and known long ago. They were observed easily by the unaided eye. Some of the well-known ancient constellations are Taurus the Bull, the Big Dipper, the Pleiades, and so on.
Zodiacal constellations. This is a group of constellations that we can see as the Earth rotates a whole year. If you notice, most of the zodiac signs are animals, due to the reason that the 12 zodiac signs have their own month or number of days because these constellations can be seen in each passing month. Just like the Capricorn, it can be seen in the sky every January and February, followed by Aquarius, which can be seen from February to March. This continues until the end of the whole year. The northern zodiac constellations are Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo, located in the eastern celestial hemisphere, while the southern constellations are Virgo, Libra, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricornus, and Aquarius, are found in the west. The word zodiac comes from the Greek zodiacus, meaning the circle of animals. The Latin term of zodiacus was derived from the Greek, and the Greek term comes from the word zodion, which is diminutive of sun or animal. Seven of constellations found along the ecliptic represents animals, as they did in Greek and Roman times. They are Aries means ram, Taurus means bull, Cancer means crab, Leo means lion, Scorpius means scorpion, Capricornus means goat, and Pisces means fish.
Throughout history, people relied on constellations for various purposes. In ancient times, they used them to time their farming activities by observing which stars and groups of stars appeared or disappeared in the night sky. For example, the appearance of Orion signaled the coming of winter, while the Pleiades indicated it was time for spring planting, helping communities ensure their food supply. Furthermore, constellations play a key role in timekeeping across cultures. They help mark seasonal changes and important dates in agricultural and religious calendars. By tracking the movement of constellations, ancient civilizations measured time and anticipated events like the longest and shortest days of the year, or when day and night were about the same length.
How does the constellation change? Constellations change over time because of the motion of the Earth in its orbit around the Sun. Each star in the constellation has its own independent motion, so all the constellations will change slowly over time. The stars appear to move over the years because of 26,000 year-long process called precession. If you observe the constellation throughout the year, they will change location toward the west.
Stars' name and brightness. We measure the brightness of these stars using the magnitude scale. The magnitude scale seems a little backwards. The lower the number, the brighter the object is, and the higher the number. The dimmer it is, this scale is logarithmic and set so that every 5 steps up equals a 100 times decrease in brightness. 7 stars name. Ursa Major is mainly known from the pattern of 7 stars which has been called the Big Dipper, the Wagon, Charles Swain, or the Plow, meaning of star. From the word star meaning luminous astronomical object seen in the night sky, the sun is also a star. The word has also come to mean a celebrity or famous person in the entertainment field.
How do we identify constellations? Constellations can be classified into different categories based on various criteria. Here are some classification of constellations. Based on when they can be seen during the year. Zodiacal constellations. These are the 12 constellations that lie along the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun through the sky. They are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricorns, Aquarius, and Pisces. Circumpolar constellations. These are the constellations that never set below the horizon and can be seen year-round from a given location. They are Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Cassiopeia, Cepheus, Draco, and Camelopardalis. Based on their location in the sky. Northern constellations. These are the constellations that are visible from the northern hemisphere. They include Ursa Major, Cassiopeia, Draco, and Cepheus. Southern constellations. These are the constellations that are visible from the southern hemisphere. They include Crux, Centaurus, based on their shape or pattern. Zodiacal constellations. These are constellations are named after the shape or pattern they form. For example, Taurus is named after the bull, and Scorpius is named after the scorpion.
Importance of constellation. Before the invention of compasses and the calendars, constellations played a significant role in navigation and timekeeping for humans. Constellations served as a valuable navigational aids, particularly for long-distance travel. Early navigators were able to calculate direction and approximate latitude by studying the position and the movement of stars. They learned to recognize a specific constellation or star patterns visible at different times of the year and use them as a compass points to navigate their travels. For example, the North Star or Polaris has become an important reference point for determining the northern position of the northern hemisphere. Constellations were also useful for measuring time. By monitoring the position of a certain constellation at night, people could estimate the time of day and the progress of the seasons. For example, the movement of constellations like Orion and the Big Dipper across the night sky can indicate the seasons and help people understand seasonal changes.